the project that we are going to see. So I'm going to ask the mayor to give his welcome remarks.
All bank senior officials and deputy head, Swiss Development Corporation, Secretary of Ministry of Labour, Employment and Social Security, and Secretary of Ministry of Urban Development. It is indeed a pleasure to welcome all of you in our beautiful city, Lalitpur. Lalitpur is the oldest city of Nepal and is a hub of culture, religion and history. Lalitpur Metropolitan City has a long and rich history that dates back to the 3rd century BC. The city is known as Patan, the center of fine arts and handicraft center. Today, Lalitpur city is renowned for its traditional Newari architecture, which features intricate carvings and designs on buildings, windows and doors. The city is also home to several UNESCO World Heritage Sites, such as the Patan Darbar Square, which features ancient palaces, temples and statues. Lalitpur is the Old Craft Council's 35th member city, and this city is very famous for a lot of temples. Up until 1960s, it is used to say that there are many temples than houses and many images of gods and goddesses than population. But that has not been the case now due to the urbanization. The present day Patan is focused on improving its livability and sustainability, for which we have been implementing projects such as the Lalitpur Smart City project. The Lalitpur Smart City project aims to transform the city into a sustainable and livable urban center for improving its infrastructure, public services and connectivity. The project has already achieved significant milestones such as the installation of LED streetlights, high mast lights, and the development of a mobile app for citizens to report issues to the authorities.
Local people then start investing. And so just try to notice how businesses come back, how the economy starts getting boosted. And the basic thing is that when you make a city livable, then the businesses come back. And so just notice on both sides how investments have started coming into this historical city because of the investments that are made. Which we would call a built, monument. So you can see the piece of stone, which used to look like a lion, but it takes thousands of years of wear and tear, for it to wear to that shape. Now, if you remember, in the morning it was a little cool because we are at 1400 meters above sea level. But during the day it gets very warm because we are at the same latitude as Florida. So if Florida was at Kathmandu's height, you would feel like, Kathmandu. So the wood wears out because of the wear and tear. So now the challenge is, if that piece of wood is 400 years old, then if you look at that piece, that's only about 15 years old. So one of the challenges in conservation in Nepal is to try and change the definition of conservation that the whole world seems to understand, which is to preserve these pieces as they are in a glass box in a museum. In Nepal, we do not care about these pieces. But Patton, for example, has done a wonderful job of not taking care of the wooden pieces, but the person down the road who knows how to make a new one. So conservation is not about wood. Conservation is about people with skills and knowledge. And so what I want you to do is take a look at this piece, just walk around and look at the new piece and see why the mayor doesn't look very worried. What we have learned is that the person owns the property, but the city owns the facade. And so these are policy instruments where if you can offset the price of brick and wood against the steel and cement, then you can recover these ancient facades all over town. Now,
We have very recently announced that.
and so one of them, has to be water and water bodies and their conservation. So all of us know that cities like Petra in Jordan, they thrived, they did well for themselves, and then when they could not manage the water, they all become archaeological sites. And so what we're going to hear is about this space which is dedicated to a water tank and how it has been conserved. And to do that, we have Sailendra Shrestha.
Namaste.
And maybe the best way to introduce him is as a troublemaker. Because he's somebody who knows how to mobilize the community, he knows how to get things done, and also pick up a fight with the mayor when it is needed.
President, and firstly, I'd like to welcome you all, the ID team, the World Bank ID team in our community. So we make a brief walk around the pond. In the meantime, I'll be telling you how the World Bank project, the PRP, has been changed and the economic level of the community has been changed. And all the area that's been like a dump site on this pond once a time. So it's been all, in 2014, the World Bank PRP project came on, and it had to take a couple of years to be implemented. And in 2017, the whole project, the PRP has been completed. Since then, the whole scenario of the community has been changed, right? As the community itself is a very historic community, it's a historic community. We had a royal regime and who ruled for about 240 years. And since then, we passed out only about 25 years. And before the royal regime, there was the Malay regime. And before the Malay regime also, there was the whole Katran Valley was a single kingdom. And at a time, this area was regarded as the western part governor's office. So as a governor's office, economically and politically, it was rich. That's why there's always been a fight, always been a political issues in that area. Since then, we had, let's make a walk. We used to call him a Gaya Bhaja, the tantric, rich tantric, powerful tantric priest. And it has been done by the Gaya Bhaja himself, and the pond itself also has a story been built by the Gaya Bhaja. There's also a rich culture and rich tradition of our community and our religion, right? We, the community people, believe that there's a strong energy, so that's why we don't step over that stone. Whenever somebody steps on that stone, means he starts having some sort of allergies. It was all in a shape, and there is all the big stones surrounded the wall. That's why we believe that the wall were made without the foundation. That's why we call it the Jagmadu pond without foundation. Otherwise, pond never has a foundation, right? That's why we try to justify our pond as a Jagmadu Puku, so the wall has been built without foundation.
A 2,300-year-old city, you can keep on adding new features with the inclusion agenda. But the second thing is, if you look at these prayer wheels, you will see that each one is a receipt. And so the initial money did not come from the bank, it came from the local people. And so the local people decided that this is what the receipt should look like. And so this is quite interesting that it's so well documented that it will probably last for a very, very long time to show the local participation. And so these are all receipts for the local contribution.
The committee. So here our young friends are as the community development committee members. These are all our community development committee members. And we do have a 3 years term. We cleaned up this first time. So we cleaned up with the pond for this after 7 years. And fortunately we found this picture, say. This is a picture painted by John Henry Oldfield Ambrose. And it was in 1870, something like 170 years back. When we found this picture, it was in document. We found 100% documented that in the center of the pond, it was like this, with a wooden pillar and a tile roof, right? This was the real argument. When we found this picture of 1852, we, the community, decided why going after 1934 or before 1934. We already got the documentation picture of ED 52. We went back like the same again.
Once this project is complete, then I got a lot of pressure from other communities. From here, it's about 5 minutes walking distance. There is one big pond, not this size, but there's a 3/4 of this size. So I got a big pressure. So that is also done. That is also completed very nicely. But there is no courtyard like this. It's an open pond, but that is very nicely done.
Yes, ma'am. I do have more. Yeah. So yeah. I got him a chance. By the age, he should have still gone in the stick, but he's so energetic, he's still walking in the hand.
So if we were to say, what is the lesson that we can draw from this project that would be replicable? And so it's very simple. You have an asset. When you conserve that asset, you create value. Now, people like Sailendra are really good at capturing that value by selling rooms. Now, the mayor is very good by taxing Sailendra so that every child goes to school, so that the elderly get access to medical services. And so if we can use these as principles, then every dollar, every rupee that we spend, gets fairly distributed. And so this, I think, is the real beauty of doing projects like this. So talk about leverage. But then, if you look at private property, damage during the earthquake, you will see a lot of it has not been recovered. So this is where Eleanor Ostrom, who was a professor at Indiana University, wrote her thesis, basically challenging the notion of the tragedy of the commons. And she wrote her thesis based on case studies from Nepal, that it was easier to take care of public property than private property. And so she got the Nobel Prize in economics. I think it should be shared with the mayor. Design of the project. So if you remember, the first place where we stopped was a temple. And so very often we define it as a built heritage, so a built structure. The second was a water tank. And so water being a natural heritage. So the third component of a historical city is what we would call the intangible or the cultural heritage. And so this is one of the key parts of project design. So for example, if you see that wooden strut and then pull the chariot through the town until it rains. And so that strut basically symbolizes the snakes that were the original inhabitants of the valley. And so the people believe that if the snakes leave the valley, then it will not rain. So the reason why it has started raining is because we have completed the chariot festival and brought the snakes back into the valley so that they can bring rain into the valley. So the reason to tell you this story is in the design of the project, the first priority was given to the intangible. It was given to building the community. Then the second was to work on the natural assets. And then only thirdly to work on the built. So very often there is usually a hurry to work on the built infrastructure or the built temples, and then the community gets sidelined. And so in that process, this little rest house that you see is part of that intangible, because on that raised platform that you will see, the 8 mother goddesses that protect the city of Patan, they come to life in the month of September and they dance on that platform. And so this platform is where the artisans would rest, they would play the music. And so it's those kinds of infrastructures that really builds the city. And then based on that, we can do all the other work. So I think the mayor, the leadership really understands that keeping the community intact is priority number 1. Keeping the city a living city because of nature, I think is the second. And then thirdly, you can work on the built assets, as you go along. So on Monday, when we heard the presentation that the mission of the bank now actually included a livable planet. So that's a huge thing for the local community, because it rings a really positive bell for everybody. So it is not just economics, but a livable planet. It is the service lane for the city, whereas this open space is the living space where the people live. And so 3,000 years ago, 2,500 years ago, there were really smart planners who separated service lanes from the living spaces. And so these living spaces are all connected. And then you will see what we mean by resilience. So when you have an earthquake, like the one we had in 2015, so every household they bring their uncooked food and they start a common kitchen. And so that common kitchen went for about 5 days before people could go back to their houses. And so this sense of community, but having community space, is very important. Now what we will do is go through a hierarchy of spaces until we get to the monastic, space. So in Nepal, in Kathmandu, in Patan, when people say, where do you live? So their primary address will be the monastery that they belong to. Now, if you are an office colleague, you might get invited only up to this space. But if you are close like you are, you get invited into the inner courtyards as well. Compete with a dog. So if you look at this house, you can see it is a brick facade and built with wood. So you know that the family has a person who has crossed that age. And the second time is when the person has seen 1,000 full moons. And so that's a very special ceremony. And so those are paintings that indicate that there is an elderly person in the house.
Do you know about the age?
Because this Buddha is facing south, and if you look at the hand position, it is in the giving mudra. So the open palm is the perfection of giving. So dana or varda mudra is the logo. Now in the foreground, if you look at the three scripts, so the script on top is the Kathmandu Valley, we call it the Ranjana Lipi, or the old script. And so that script used to be what enabled the trade on the entire Silk Road at one time. But over time, the Silk Road began to adopt other languages, but the Kathmandu Valley still keeps it as a living heritage and as a living tradition. So below that you see Devanagari, which is the official language used by the government of Nepal, and then English. And so if you can think of an elaborate signage for the neighborhood, so that would be it. So the traditional Ranjana, then the Devanagari, and then the English.
100 days back, this place was occupied by Lord Buddha's many images. They came from different nook and corners of Kathmandu Valley, and they did have a big celebration here. So that was what we call Samyeka, and that happens once in 4 years.
Yeah. And so this is the space where the festival gets organized. UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and so one of them will be a monastery that we will enter, and then we'll walk over to the World Heritage Site. So you haven't seen anything yet. So if you come a little closer so you can see these icons. So one of the strange things about Nepali icons or the Kathmandu Valley icons is, for example, a roaring lion. Now Nepal doesn't have any lions, and so surely everybody must ask, where did these lions come from? And so if you think of the Greeks, and if you think of Alexander marching into Asia almost 2,300 years ago, so he marched not just with the soldiers, but also with artisans. And so the Greeks gave us these icons, through their art. And so what does it symbolize? So several things. So one is the roaring lion symbolizes that you are now in a space where the words of the Buddha will be spoken, and it should be spoken like the roar of the lion, or the dharma, we call it. Now, if you look at the icon here on the thing, so you will notice the Greek influence in the fact that the Buddha is wearing a toga, right? So it's very strange that the Buddha in the middle of Patan would be wearing a toga. But if you look at the hand position, it's different from the one we saw earlier. So in this case, it is not open, but it is touching the earth. So this Buddha is always facing the east. And so the elaboration of that icon would be very simple, that in every person's life, there are two important days. So the first is the day you were born, but the second is the day you find out why you were born on earth. So the Buddha found out that he was with a purpose in life, and so that discovery for him was happening at the age of 35. So if you're below 35, you have some time, but if you have crossed 35, better start thinking, really, because you have to find a purpose in life, generation after generation. So this institution has three components. So everybody has faith in the Buddha. The second is everybody lives as a member of the Sangha, trust. So around this valley there is land, and the grain that grows on the land is distributed among the guilds so that we can maintain these spaces. So this particular space is 1100 years old, and the book that they read every morning from the Buddhist text is about 800 years old, and it is rewritten every 3 years. So it keeps up this tradition, from these ancient times, performed every day, and hence you need 3 priests to complete that ritual. And so they take their turn for 1 month, one month. So they're so which means they still have 2 weeks, to look after the temple. And then they hand it over to the next. And so if you look at that frame, you can see the next 12 families, whose turns are coming. And so it looks like the bad guys are going to get the elixir. So Vishnu takes the form of a tortoise.
Coffee that is consumed in Nepal is more something that has been taken as a culture process.
So he is right to some extent because coffee is new to Nepalese. But the coffee that is consumed in Nepal is now grown in Nepal. And so in western part of Nepal, there are many districts whose economy is now based on the coffee.
That is also for both for domestic consumption and for export.
Yes. Now in eastern Nepal, where tea has been there for a long time, so this I think we will recognize. The main courtyard. Come. You can stay comfortably. You haven't seen anything yet.
This one was badly cracked, but it didn't come down. But it was verge to collapse. So we started renovation, and now this is going to complete within next 3 months. If worse comes worse, 4 months finished. So this is one of the biggest projects that we undertaking, and this temple is its diameter is the biggest diameter in the country. If you look to the Bhaktapur, if you go to the Bhaktapur and if you see the Metropolitan temple, that is the tallest temple in the country, but the diameter is biggest in this case. Okay, so but it does not need many types of traditional bricks, but one just in front of this temple, the other side, that is called the Nursing Temple. That is not that tall, but it needs 153 types of artistic bricks. 153. So luckily we got artisans, so all the bricks were manufactured through kiln. So now we are going to complete that temple very soon. So these are the two temples left over. So these will be completed very soon. Next time, whenever you come, everything will be finished.
Shows that China was about 40% of the world's economy in 1600. And India under the Mughals was about 27% of the world's economy. And the trade would go through these ancient cities. And so the city had control over the trade revenue, but secondly, it also had control over the mint. So the currency for the trade was minted in Patan. And then thirdly, these were very fertile valleys that produce a lot of food. So these three factors probably made the city very famous. And as the mayor was saying, this is probably the oldest inhabited city, one of the oldest inhabited cities on a continuous basis in the world. And so when you do conservation, we come across these amazing motifs that show, foreign dignitaries coming to Patan even in ancient times. And so if you look at their clothes, if you look at the design of their jewelry, and so you'll be really surprised that in the year 1600, the Jesuits from Italy would have come to Patan and then gifted the kings with even the first telescopes and model of the universe. And so you'll see all of them in the etching. So hopefully your meeting will be as historical as this one. So of the universe. And so in that part, there is also a sacrificial, rituals that are performed. And so if you look at these spaces, a lot of sacrifices are done. Now, in reality, you can argue this forever, but the word bali is not a sacrifice, it's actually a tax. And so the way the city-states, operated was also based on tax. But then the tax could take the form of animals. It could be in kind. And so very often, when people brought animals, for slaughtering, so it would be form of tax. So in Kathmandu Valley, we also have a very special culture where the female animals are never slaughtered. And so the male is slaughtered. And so this is the form of culling, if you think of management. And so there is a point, where so many male buffaloes are not very useful. And so we turn them into momos.
2015 after, most of these structures were collapsed, and we restored, we reinstated. But however, you can see on these straws, someone has on the right 4 hands and someone has on the left 3 hands or 2 hands. That is not equal, okay? So in that case, we have a bunch of hands connected somewhere inside. But it's very difficult for us to keep which hand goes where. Okay? Simply because the deities or the gods, they carry different weapons or flowers or whatever. So in that case, municipality is investigating into this case, and next time whenever you come, all the hands will be fixed.
And so it requires support, from the municipality. And so the project has actually been able to support the stone artists, to be able to bring it, to this stage. So good, I think we're all here. So we're going to go inside. And remember, this time we're going to hear about youth space, where remember in the old courtyard that we were, so we would very often say that was basically built, 1100 years ago. Well, these courtyards or this part of town, it's much older, than that part. And so in these parts, you can find icons that go back even to the 5th or the 6th century. And so it's very old, but then you can see the community that has taken care of it very well. And so to describe how the youth are engaged in this process and to tell us about the project of youth employment.
I welcome you all to our community. This is one of the community of 16 Mahavihars. This is one of the Mahavihar of this Lalitpur Metropolitan City. It's called, and the name of this Bihar is Vaishyavarna Mahavihar. And we have the 10 eldest people here. We call it Aju. And one of the Aju, the eldest Aju is here. He is the eldest Aju of our community. And his name is Dharma Sakya. And this is all Sakya communities. It is the main temple of our community. And we worship this temple thrice a day. In the morning, in the early morning at 4 o'clock, and then in a daytime at 2 o'clock, and then in the evening time at 6 or 7 o'clock. We worship this shrine. And once we born, and the male boy, before he reaching 7 years, he needs to be a special procession. He needs to go through special procession. What is it called?
So just say, procession is good, yeah. But it's more like a festival, but it's taken out as a procession.
It's a procession, and once he completes this procession, he will become the member of our community. Otherwise, no. And so only the male will be the member of our community. In this way, we are taking care of our, this temple. What else?
So good. So I think for the project itself, so if you can join.
Welcome to this Jaal, one of our 8 projects area. The sites you are seeing here and the coloring we are seeing here are done by our women, especially women unemployed. In Nepal, labor participation rates are very average. Talking about the total population of 11% people are still unemployed, and the rates of formal employment is very low. Only 35% of people are in formal employment, and rest of others are in informal employments. Of the 8 million people in the labor force, 6 million are in the informal employment. A large percentage of the working age of population are involved in unpaid work. Even of those people who are skilled, jobs in Nepal are scarce, and the few available are low quality and mainly concentrated in the informal sector. To get decent jobs here in Nepal is one of the big challenges. Talking about 80 projects, project is a USD 120 million project that was just extended from 5 years to 6 now recently. The project strengthened the government's flagship minimum employment program under Prime Minister Employment Program, which provides support to those who are unemployed through the 100 days cash for work program. of these beneficiaries at the financing support about 30,000 of the poorest, most vulnerable youth unemployed each year.
And basically what we wanted to do today was just spend less time of us talking and allow you to interact with some of the beneficiaries that have done some of the work here, but have done some of the work along the whole route that you walked. In different places, different groups of different communities have actually worked on some of these, both as a way of earning, but also as a way of returning to the community. So I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves one by one, and then really it's very
like not for the bigger things that she can do, but the smaller aspects that really is important to her, that has uplifted her living standard. For that, Yeti project has really benefited her and impacted her directly.
Thank you.
This is called Nepal Urban Governance and Infrastructure Project, which is a 150 million project, which has been under implementation for about 4 years and is now about to close after a year or so, supporting 33 municipalities. Of course, unfortunately, Lalitpur is not part of that project, but the mayor was really very happy to invite some of the participating mayors from these 33 municipalities. We have Mayor Milan will introduce each of them. We have a mayor from Pokhara and 3 other municipalities that came to tell you really about, this particular project was started after Nepal proclaimed federalism. So this particular project has been really supporting federalism in action. So we have 4 mayors that will speak about that. Then in addition to that, we have, I think, 4 or 5, 6 mayors and deputy mayors from Kathmandu Valley, and they will be also speaking. And then we'll have like 20 or 30 minutes for discussion, question. Because I've not seen you asking questions so far, but now it's a good setting to ask any question about the urban regeneration, the Yeti project, and also Nujib about federalism as well.
We appreciate support from World Bank, particularly in improvement of urban infrastructures and institutional strengthening and capacity building of municipalities. I also would like to recall the experience on earthquake emergency housing project, where we got support from World Bank to restore nearly 55,000 houses that are multi-disaster resilient. That enhanced the government's ability to improve long-term disaster resilience. As we are heading to LDC graduation in 2026, this shift marks crucial phase in nation's socio-economic development. We are having both opportunities and challenges of this shift graduation to LDC. We should be able to tap the opportunities and tackle the challenges resulting from this graduation. Together, currently we are focusing on creating urban infrastructure and strengthening local government, municipalities. Together with this provision, I think we have to consider culture and innovation possibilities as resources for local economic development to tap strength of heritage, culture, and identity of a place. Urban regeneration approach, as we tried in Lalitpur Metropolitan City with support from World Bank, could be good example to refer to. The most convincing reason that urbanization brings economic prosperity stems from the concept of agglomeration economies, where people and firms located nearby in physical proximity interact more efficiently than in dispersed setting, making them more productive. They trade with each other, they compete, and they exchange information and share logistics. Obviously, bigger cities enable more interactions and the faster spread of new ideas and techniques. It may be called as social, territorial, and cultural innovation in terms of local economic development.
कार्यहरूका उप-आयोजनाहरूले जनस्तर ठुलो प्रभाव पारेको छ। हामीले यस आर्थिक वर्षका लागि प्राप्त बजेटतर्फ 98.71% प्रगति हासिल गरिसकेको अवस्था छ। हामीले कोभिड प्रभावित एकल महिला, आदिवासी जनजाति, मुक्त कमैया, बादी समुदाय लगायत गरिबीको रेखा मुनि रहेका अन्य लाभग्राहीहरूलाई उप-आयोजनामा ज्याला सहितको रोजगारी उपलब्ध गराई उनीहरूको दैनिक जीवनयापन सहज बनाउन सहयोग गरेका छौँ। ती आयोजनामा काम गर्ने लाभग्राहीहरूमा झन्डै 50% हाराहारीमा महिला सहभागिता देख्न सकिन्थ्यो।
सङ्घीय सरकार बीच रहेको र रहने समन्वयका सम्बन्धमा केही टिप्पणीहरू राख्ने अवसर प्रदान गर्नुभएकोमा आयोजक समूहलाई मेची नगरपालिकाको उपप्रमुखको हैसियतले धन्यवाद दिन चाहन्छु। नेपालको संविधान 2072ले संहितालाई संस्थागत गरेको छ। नेपालका लागि यो नयाँ अभ्यास पनि हो। यो अभ्यासकै क्रममा प्रयोगमा रहेको छ र मलाई उपलब्ध समय सीमाभित्र रही नेपालमा संहिताको अभ्यास अन्तर्गत 3 तहका सरकार बीचको समन्वयको अवस्थाबारेमा केही टिप्पणी रिमार्क्स प्रस्तुत गर्ने अनुमति चाहन्छु। कानुन, संरचना, अभ्यास र व्यवहारका क्षेत्रमा 3 तह बीचको समन्वयको अवस्थाबारे केही भन्न चाहन्छु। नेपालको संविधान 2072ले 3 तहका सरकारको एकल र साझा अधिकारको स्पष्ट व्यवस्था गरेको छ। यो एकदमै सकारात्मक विषय भएको छ। यसै गरी स्थानीय तह सञ्चालनका लागि स्थानीय सरकार सञ्चालन ऐन 2074 जारी भएको छ। तर अहिले पनि संविधानले बाँडफाँड गरेका अधिकार र स्थानीय सरकार सञ्चालन ऐन 2074ले स्थानीय तहको काम कर्तव्य अधिकारभित्र व्यवस्था गरेका विषयहरू कार्यान्वयन हुन सकिरहेको छैन।
हामीले यो अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय विकास संस्था आइडिएले नेपालको शिक्षा, स्वास्थ्य, पूर्वाधार, सामाजिक सुरक्षा, खाद्य सुरक्षा लगायतको क्षेत्रमा लगानी गरेर नेपाल जस्तो विकासोन्मुख राष्ट्रलाई विकसित राष्ट्रको कोटीमा पुर्याउन आफ्नो तर्फबाट गरेको भरमग्दुर प्रयास र लगानीको कारण नेपाल चाहिँ विकासमा फड्को मार्दै गइरहेको अवस्थामा छ। आइडियाले नेपाल सरकार मार्फत हालैका वर्षहरूमा नगरपालिकाहरूमा पनि विकास निर्माणका कामहरूमा सहयोग गर्दै अगाडि बढिरहेको यहाँहरूलाई जानकारी गराउन चाहन्छु। त्यसै अन्तर्गत संविधान निर्माण भई संहिता क्रियान्वयन भइसकेपछि हरियोन जस्तो ठाउँ चाहिँ हरियोन नगरपालिका गठन भई आइडियाको सहयोगमा शहरी शासकीय तथा पूर्वाधार विकास कार्यक्रम सञ्चालन भई सहर बन्ने अभियानमा रहेको छ। हालसम्म हरियोन नगरपालिकामा एनयुजिआइपी र एलपिडब्ल्यू मार्फत गएको रकमहरू यस प्रकार रहेको छ।
To heartily welcome and thank you this very important meeting. On behalf of Pokhara Metropolitan City and myself, we are very happy, and this time is very busy schedule for us because we are going to in budget time, but we are here. म नेपालीमै बोल्छु। थोरै हामी यहाँ केही मेयरहरू छौँ र वर्ल्ड ब्याङ्कले 33वटा नगरपालिकामा महानगरपालिका, उपमहानगरपालिका र नगरपालिकाहरूमा अहिले पछिल्लो अवधिमा यो परियोजना लागू गरेको छ, खास गरिकन एनयुजिआइपी प्रोजेक्टका रूपमा। म के अनुभव गरिरहेको छु भने हाम्रो 5 वर्षको टेन्योर छ। हाम्रो मेयर साहबले ललितपुरका मेयर साहबले दोस्रो टेन्योरमा काम गर्दै हुनुहुन्छ। हामीलाई के चाप छ भने भरसक यो काम चाहिँ आफ्नै टेन्योरमा सकियोस् भन्ने लाग्दो रहेछ। तर अब हाम्रो अलिकति यो संहिता, खास गरी अहिले हामी 7 वर्षमा हिँड्दैछौँ नेपालको राजनीतिक यो चाहिँ शासकीय परिवर्तनपछि भनौँ न, राज्य पुनर्स्थापना पछाडिको अवस्थामा यो 7 वर्षमा संहिताले एउटा बेस बनाएको छ। हरेक कुराको चाहिँ नयाँ कुरा हुने बित्तिकै त्यसमा चाहिँ त्यसको चाहे त्यो पूर्वाधारको कुरा हो, चाहे अफिस सेटअपको कुरा हो, चाहे नीति नियम कानुन आदिको कुराहरू बनाउँदाखेरि सुरुका बेलामा चाहिँ यसले अलिक गति लिन पनि समय लाग्यो। अहिले मलाई लाग्छ नेपालको संहिता अब एकदम बच्चाबाट बिस्तारै किशोर अवस्थामा चाहिँ अगाडि बढिरहेछ। यस्तो अवस्थामा यसको सुरुवातीको सिकाइ यसले सकेर अब आफ्नो लयमा फर्कन लागेको बेलामा खास गरी डेभलपिङ पार्टनरहरूले जुन खालको साथ सहयोग दिएर यो 3 तहको सरकारलाई हामीले के भन्यौँ भने सिंहदरबारको अधिकार घर घरमा भन्ने एउटा नारा दिएर हामीले जनतालाई नजिकको सरकारको जे आवश्यकता पर्छ त्यही पाउने गरिकन लोकल सरकारलाई स्थानीय सरकारलाई त्यो ठाउँ दियौँ। तर हामीसँग त्यो खालको कतिपय ठाउँहरूमा खास गरिकन मानव संसाधनका कुराहरू इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चरका विषयहरू बनिसकेको अवस्था थिएन। त्यो अवस्थामा चाहिँ हामीले ठुला परियोजनाहरू सञ्चालन गर्ने हाम्रो एक खालको अवस्था पनि थिएन, अवसर पनि थिएन। तर पछिल्लो अवधिमा ठुला परियोजनाहरू पनि स्थानीय तहमा बन्न सक्छन्, त्यही खरिद प्रक्रियाहरू अगाडि बढाएर अगाडि लान सकिन्छ र टाइम फ्रेम एउटा दिएको समयभित्रलाई पुरा गर्न सकिन्छ भन्ने एउटा मनोबल बढेको छ र हामीले त्यो एउटा उदाहरण देशभरिका धेरै नगरपालिकाहरूले टाइममै काम गरिरहेछन्। तर यसमा चाहिँ केही हाम्रा अझै पनि अब्स्ट्याकलहरू छन्, खास गरी नेपाल सरकारको खरिद ऐनको कारणले गर्दा, कतिपय हाम्रो प्रचलित ऐन कानुनहरूको चाहिँ ढिला सुस्तीका कारणले गर्दा यीले गर्दाखेरि हामीले वर्ल्ड ब्याङ्कको स्पिड अनुसार चाहिँ कतिपय ठाउँमा काम गर्न नसकेको हुन सक्छ।
परिवर्तन भएको छ, त्यसलाई स्थानीय जनतालाई चाहिँ त्यसलाई चाहिँ समन्वय गर्ने काम चाहिँ स्थानीय सरकारले महत्त्वपूर्ण ढङ्गले त्यसलाई समाधान गरिँदाखेरि अहिले जुन सफलताको त्यो अन्तिम बिन्दुमा पुगेको छ त्यसको चाहिँ समन्वय चाहिँ स्थानीय सरकारबाट महत्त्वपूर्ण कार्यको पनि हुन्छ जस्तो लाग्छ। मैले त्यो किन भनिरहेको छु भने विभिन्न क्षेत्रमा यो अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय सहयोग र राष्ट्रिय सहयोगहरूको पाटका योजनाहरू गइरहेको छ। जस्तो अहिले एउटा इन्द्रवा विद्युतीय प्रसारण लाइन जुन एडिबीबाट आएको त्यो पैसा 25 अर्ब यो फिर्ता गरेर नेपाल सरकार आफैले बनाउनु परिरहेको छ। फास्ट्यागमा आएको समस्याहरूमा अहिले पनि समाधान भइसकेको छैन, निजगढका विमानस्थलहरू बन्न सकेको छैन, लगायतका अरू धेरै क्षेत्रमा जुन राष्ट्रिय अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय सहयोगहरू प्राप्त भएको छ त्यो सहयोगहरू चाहिँ सही ढङ्गले सही समयमा त्यसलाई इम्प्लिमेन्टेसन हुन सक्ने जुन अवस्था भएको छ त्यसलाई चाहिँ स्थानीय सरकारले महत्त्वपूर्ण भूमिका सहयोग त्यसलाई सहजीकरण गरिदियो भने चाहिँ त्यो समाधान हुन सक्छ भन्ने कुराको उदाहरण मैले आफ्नो मन नगरपालिका भएको त्यो समस्याको हल गर्दाखेरिको भोगाइले चाहिँ त्यो अनुभव गरेको छ। त्यसैले स्थानीय सरकार अथवा चाहिँ हाम्रो जनप्रतिनिधिहरूले ल्याएको एउटा भिजन त्यसको चाहिँ कार्यान्वयन तहमा आउने ढिला सुस्ती वा छिटो छरिटोको भूमिका प्रशासनिक क्षेत्रबाट हुनुपर्दछ र त्यो चाहिँ त्यसलाई कसरी अपनाउन दिने भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ कम्युनिटीले त्यसलाई आत्मसात गर्नुपर्छ।
Say that project was closed. We have been working very closely with you on a number of things, so you can speak about that and you can open it for discussion. Yeah.
And I'm very sorry. It's very congested, and we are 39 people's representative in this metro city. So our seating capacity is 39. So, but it's more than 39. So it's sorry for congestion. However, I just want to welcome all the metro mayor, Proctor metro mayor, other mayors, deputy mayors, and then government secretaries, federal government secretaries, government officers, IDA representatives, World Bank, Kathmandu office staff, and others. Good afternoon, Namaste, Jojo Papa. It is indeed a very good opportunity for me to welcome all of you here in this ancient city. As during my welcome deliberation, I said this is fine art city, and you have observed all those fine art resembles, temples, palaces, etc., etc. So that does prove that our city is a fine art city. Okay. So, but I tell you, the cursory visit of the city within say 2 hours, it is not complete. So you have to visit again. Okay. Okay. Having said this, now as the mayors, deputy mayors, they have already mentioned the federalism, the local government's involvement on the federalism, as well as there are many development aspects. After promulgation of the new constitution 9 years ago, we had 2 local elections, very successfully conducted, and the local representatives like mayors, deputy mayors, rural chairpersons, rural deputy chairpersons, that includes 753 units. All of them are doing very good job, I can tell you. They are doing very, very exemplary jobs in the country. In that case, I can give you tons of examples, but I don't have that much time. But I can give you just one example, okay? This is the place where you have visited this afternoon. That is the Darbar, Patan Darbar. It's a heritage site. We received an ADB grant for installation of trunk line project. that is 2.8 kilometers in length. But prior to that, prior to implementation of that project, where we visited today, including the natural water spouts, during this time of the year, this is monsoon time, okay? That place is inundated almost 3 or 4 times every year. That water spout as well as the ground level, the temple basement level, it's a flooded. So we managed to get a grant from ADB, 540 million rupees. But in that case, there was a lot of social issues. Even the ADB did not anticipate completion of the project. They were so scary. But in that case, the Metropolitan City, under my leadership, we said, we take all the social issues, no problem. Then technical support as well as finance support were made by ADB. Then the project, of course, it took a little bit longer than the project schedule, but ultimately the project is complete last year. And since last year, there is no inundation, no flooding, no swimming pool. But previously, what happens that whenever the place is converted into pond, swimming pool, then these days the youngsters are very smart in ITC, in information technology communication, okay? Then they make animation and they put a ship over there, a boat, and they put my picture on it and it says that the mayor is boating, okay? But since last time, no such opportunity, so it's gone. So this is one of the examples that I can give you in collaboration with the international developing agencies, okay? So that is nicely done. Now ADB is more than happy because for ADB, that was the first such heritage project in the world. So this is very nicely done. So we are very happy. So similarly, with World Bank, we have several projects. One of those is the PURPP project. Under that, we have visited the Imbahal Pond, the pond project. That is again equally good project, okay? So the time when World Bank has signed MOU with government, at that time there was no local election. So the project was almost failure, almost gone. Then the election took place, then we came, then we said to World Bank, no, don't go back. We won't let you go back. This project has to be successful. Then we cooperated, the project became grand success. Okay, that was PURPP first project. But we were anticipating PURPP second phase. In that case, World Bank has requested me, Lalitpur Metropolitan City, to take the lead position. In that case, other neighboring municipalities will also take part, and Lalitpur Metropolitan City will be the leader. But that was, paperwork was done, but COVID came, so the project could not be implemented. So now I request World Bank, this is the very right time that the PURPP second phase be implemented very, very soon.
I assume that since federalism is still young in Nepal and a lot of responsibilities were transferred to local municipalities, there was a lot to learn and capacity to build. So I wanted to ask you and your colleagues, with the benefit of hindsight, what has worked best to build capacity and to overcome this kind of implementation challenge? What could we do differently to help the project be designed faster and implemented faster?
Then it will take almost 1 fiscal year. So we have that such bad experiences. So this is my second tenure, and in accordance with Nepalese constitution, a mayor can be elected twice, not thrice. Finished. Okay. So this is my last tenure. But during my first tenure, I requested all the government big bosses like the Prime Minister, ministers, please make an amendment onto the Procurement Act. Make it little bit easy, okay, so that we can do lot of jobs. But the problem lies over the Procurement Act. Of course, World Bank and ADB Bank might have helped to make this act, Procurement Act, but it is very difficult. So make it little bit easier, okay, so that we can accomplish the jobs quite easily.
I'm sure you have between the different levels of government. That's, given that it's a very young federalism, I'm sure that you're learning quite a bit as you go ahead. Thanks.
But I don't have any experience onto the cooperation between three layers of government regarding settlement of the issues, okay? So in that case, it is better if something is done on time so that we can do a lot of things. But I just ask Mr. Secretary to add on it.
Government, provincial government and federal government. And under the chairmanship of Right Honorable Prime Minister, there is one national coordination committee, and that coordinates among these 3 tiers of government. Recently, we had one coordination committee meeting in Pokhara, and from that coordination committee, we reviewed work division among these 3 tiers of government that was previously decided some 5-6 years ago, just immediately after this implementation of federalization. And we have reviewed on it, and we have prepared new work division directives on the recommendation of that committee. Thank you.
Precious experience for us, and also to thank you very much for taking this opportunity to learn the federalism of the Nepal. Frankly speaking, I don't think I really understand Nepal federalism, but I feel that, you know, we have a very intensive discussion here about Idea 21 from Monday, and I strongly feel some of the important discussions on the going way is one of is the partnership among the World Bank and other multilateral development bank. I would say coordination or partnership is not only for the Nepal, it's, I mean, a global theme, and failure and success is always exist. And my first point is that I would like to continue to encourage your mayors and the federal government to continue to learning by doing. Of course, failure is not escape that, but I think the high-level policy and the implementation on the municipality, these 2 elements is indispensable. And we just today, this morning, discussed this point. Actually, we, the deputies, discussed very high-level policy theme of the IDA 21. And this morning, we heard the regional vice presidency of the World Bank is just a counterpart of the high too much policy framework is a bit restriction on their implementation on the ground. They request to us very flexibility, please. I think that this argument is also applied to federalism of the Nepal. So I like to ask you the municipalities to ask some flexibility on some room and very coordinate with the federal government. And through this afternoon's project, I strongly encouraged by the strong commitment of the community of Patan City. Also, I was so encouraged and moved by the ladies who get working through the World Bank project. I think eventually those kind of ambition of people or very proactive action by the people is the source, the main source of the success. And this kind of ambition can be captured by your municipalities, not by the federal government. So I really count on you on the success of the federalism of the Nepal. That's my takeaway, and thank you very much.
In this case, we are very, very successful implementing all of those projects. So thank you very much for your very good suggestion. Thank you.
Rethought to find new ways to tackle problems. And that one example was about the urban regeneration project and the conservation of the heritage. Now the question was on federalism and how you are thinking and about the taxation at the local level. It was somehow touched during the discussion. And because it also recalls me what you told during the visit this afternoon about the private sector development that brings public, that is brought by public investments. And the answer was wondering whether how you are calibrating taxation from the local government and the national one. Thank you.
Not know the parliament building. Singa Darbar, okay? Because everything will be done by the local government. So the constitution promulgated 9 years before, and the act made under that constitution, it gives tons of authorities to the local government. For instance, even the ward chair can do more than 35 types of work. So the people don't need to come even here, okay, for those 35 types of work. And a lot of ward level development they can undertake. They don't need to come here. Of course, we give money. But that is the federalism. So in that case, federalism is highly successful in local level. I don't want to comment on provincial because the local people, they do not have, say, if I say no access, that will be quite unfair, but it's almost no access. Okay?
No need.
Yeah,
It's also permanent government.
Yeah, again, the local government, we are permanent government. Okay, so in that case, we are here for 5 years. In that case, whatever we do, it is done very, very nicely because we are directly accountable to the people. But regarding the taxation, we don't want to give a lot of trouble to the citizens because we are elected from them. Okay, if we increase tax, then it will be difficult for me to come again next election. Okay, so what we do is we don't increase tax rate, but we increase the daira. Scope of taxation, you see. That is what we are doing. So in that case, now Lalitpur Metropolitan City, as of today, not as of today, as of just go Basantam, as of last week, we have already collected 87.24% of revenues. That was our forecast. Okay, but again, don't forget that this month is the last month, and the people used to pay tax in last month. So in that case, we will achieve 100%, but more than 100%. But in that case, we don't give trouble by increasing tax rate. So citizens are happy, we are happy. Okay.